Hi, I'm Dr. Greg Castello, board-certified family practice with Adventist Health Partners and CastelloWellness.com. And today's our first influenza update for the 2013-2014 season. Today is January 8th, and we're now seeing widespread influenza across the country. About 2 weeks ago, we started to see a significant increase in the number of influenza cases. We had some flu sporadic for about a month prior to this, but now it is generally widespread. The type of flu we're seeing mostly is the H1N1 virus. This was swine flu that caused problems in 2009, is back as the primary virus this season. We're also seeing another strain, H3N2, which is an influenza A virus, and we're seeing 2 different influenza B viruses. So there's a total of 4 different flu strains circulating right now. The good news is that the trivalent, or the flu shot that has 2 A's and 1 B, has H1N1, it has H3N2, and it has about 50% of the influenza B's that we're seeing. For the first year, we had a quadra-valent, or 4 different strains of influenza in one shot, and this hit it on the nail as 100%. This is the H1N1, H3N2, and both of the circulating B's are in the quadra-valent vaccine. If you go on the CDC website and click a little tab that says influenza activity, you can see a map, and it's generally across the country and all regions of the country. What's interesting is they used to use green, yellow, and red for low, medium, and high activity, and apparently red is too alarming, so now it's kind of a gray-brown kind of a look as the high activity, but we're seeing this across the country. I did want to give you a differential between influenza and another virus that's going around, because it's important to try and figure out if you have the flu, whether we give you the medications Tamiflu. So on my whiteboard here, I've got some different things, and I've got influenza up on the left-hand column, and then I've got this other virus that's been going around for several months that is flu-like, but it's not influenza. So the big difference between influenza or the flu and this other no-name virus is flu has lots and lots of fever. 101 to 104 is pretty typical of influenza. So if you got 102 fever, 103 fever, likely influenza. This other one is generally 99. You're usually hot and cold, but when you check your temperature, it's more 99 degrees, usually not above 100. Achy, they both have achy as a side effect. So lots of the viruses have achy as a side effect, as opposed to pneumonia, where you generally are not body aches. Both of these are achy. Cough with influenza, it's more of a dry, hacking, lower respiratory cough, and the no-name virus is more of a wet upper cough. So dry cough versus wet cough. This is the Triad of Influenza: fever, achy, and cough. If you've got those 3, it's considered to be influenza if it matches these 3. Congestion, influenza is more of a lower respiratory infection, so very little congestion with influenza. This other bug, lots of nasal and mucus and throat congestion. The other big differentiator. Sore throat, a little bit of sore throat with influenza, but not too much. This one definitely starts with a sore throat day 1, and then it kind of fades off as the rest of these symptoms start up. Nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, I put that there because people, when they get stomach flu, they call that the flu, and they confuse it with the flu, but that's not the flu. You can get a little nausea, but generally neither of these have any GI symptoms. Duration of the flu, if it's not treated, generally 5 to 7 days with the flu. This other bug, you're really sick for about 5 days, and then you actually have a cold for 3+ weeks. So it's a really long infection. Not so much super sick, but the first 5 days you're pretty sick and flu-like. The biggest thing we want to determine is if we think it's influenza, we want to be on Tamiflu, because the flu is susceptible to Tamiflu. This other virus is technically not a flu virus, and Tamiflu is not effective. The last thing is the flu shot specific for influenza, and obviously the flu shot protects you or prevents influenza. This other bug, it does not protect you, and that's important because people come in and say, I had the flu shot and I'm stuffy and coughing and congestion. It's not for colds, it's for influenza. So influenza's here. If you think you have the flu, you want to get to your doctor ideally within the first 24 hours. The Tamiflu medication is most effective in that 24-hour period. It is marginally effective at 48 hours, and after 48 hours, it's not effective at all. We do have some rapid flu testing, but usually most cases of influenza are pretty apparent in flu season, and we don't have to do specific testing to make a decision if we're going to put you on on Tamiflu or not. It is never too late to get the flu shot because there are multiple strains circulating. You can get one strain of influenza and then turn around a week or a month later and get a second strain. So when I'm seeing people in the office with influenza, I'm asking them to come back a week later when they're healthy and get a flu shot to protect against the other strains. Lastly, the most predominant strain right now is H1N1. This was swine flu 2009. It does tend to affect younger people more so than older people. I've talked to my pulmonologist in the hospital, and he actually has 3 younger adults actually in the intensive care right now with influenza and multiple people in the hospital with complications of influenza. So it is important, even for healthy people, to get the flu shot. It is readily available. It does not cause the flu as a side effect, and it is protective against 3 or 4 strains of flu, and all of the flu we're seeing right now is in the flu shot, so it's a good bet to get it. Dr. Castello, thanks.